Want to welcome you guys back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast presented by FanDuel. In today's episode, what we'll be discussing is Cade Cunningham's latest injury news and will he miss the Eastern Conference playoffs? We're going to be getting into a lot of stuff today, but the one thing that we are going to start first is if you guys did not see the injury that took Cade Cunningham out of Tuesday's game against Washington, we're going to be replaying it again right now for those that did miss it. But let's kind of get into it. So, this is the play that did take Cade Cunningham out of the game. So, we're going to just kind of skim through it if you guys haven't seen it. As you can see, Trey Johnson stumbles, loses the ball. Cade Cunningham tries to retrieve the ball. They both make a play on the ball. Obviously, Trey Johnson's body is out of control and he's falling. Cade Cunningham is trying to dive for the loose ball. He's also falling. And Trey Johnson's knee hits the back of Cade Cunningham's back and possibly his rib cage area. I'm not entirely sure. This angle is kind of bad. But as you can tell, his whole body and his elbows fall into Cade Cunningham's back area. There is a different angle. As you can see, Cade is in a whole lot of pain. There's a whole different angle right here. As you can see, Trey Johnson is stumbling. Cade cuts him off, tries to make a play on the ball, and Trey Johnson's whole body just falls on the back of Cade. Cade could have collapsed his lung trying to dive for the loose ball. It was a very bang bang play. I mean, if you guys have ever played basketball at any type of level, whether that's AAU, high school, college, I probably hurt myself more playing basketball than I hurt myself playing baseball, hockey, or football. I was always getting hurt. I was always cracking my ribs or, hurting my chest as playing basketball. But there's one other part of this video I do want to kind of focus on. As you can see, this is the Pistons medical staff guy right here, Sebastian Fourier, and he's checking Cade Cunningham out. And you can see Cade is actually kind of holding on to his left quadrant right here by his rib cage. So that's why initially I thought it could have been a rib injury, but obviously he has having some discomfort there, and that's where he could have, hurt himself there. But I did want to show the video for people that did not see it on our Tuesday's broadcast, and we actually uploaded it on YouTube as well. I'm not sure if YouTube is actually pushing out our content right now. I know a lot of you guys have reached out and saying I haven't seen your video side of the podcast, but we're still hearing it on the audio side. They want to update you there. But this morning we did get some clarification on Cade's injury, and it's from Shams Charania. It says Justin, Detroit Pistons star Cade Cunningham has been diagnosed with a collapsed lung and is expected to miss an extended period of time, sources tell ESPN. Now, Shams Charania also stated this morning with Stephen A. Smith on First Take that he did hear from the doctors that it's not a major collapsed lung, it's a minor collapsed lung, which is a good sign. If it was major, he would be out for the rest of the season and he would not even play in the playoffs. He would also have to have a chest tube inserted into his chest to get the air out of his lungs. So it's a minor. So he probably had to have a small incision in his chest area to, get the, air out of his lungs, and it could actually heal naturally. In most cases, when it's a minor collapsed lung, the body itself can heal naturally, which is a good sign. I am going to put a graphic kind of explaining what a collapsed lung is. So let me put that on the screen for you guys right now. So this is what Cade Cunningham is. The medical term for it is called pneumothorax. So as you guys can see, with a collapsed lung, you get air or fluid in the pleuris space. With a normal lung, you don't have any air or fluid in there. And just the medical diagnosis with it is when air leaks into the space between the lung and the chest, wall called the pleuris space, that air pushes on the lung, causing it to partially or completely collapse. And, some of the symptoms that Cade could be experiencing is chest pain, shortness of breath, and just a difficult time breathing before he did get the treatment. But I'm sure he's already gotten the treatment and he's on his way to recover, which is a good sign if you are the Detroit Pistons and a Detroit Pistons fan. Pistons also updated The fans, they put out a public relations press release today directly from the Detroit Pistons doctors, and it says Detroit Pistons medical update. After further testing, Pistons guard Cade Cunningham has been diagnosed with a left lung pneumothorax. Cunningham exited Tuesday's game versus the Wizards in the first quarter. He will be reevaluated in 2 weeks. Now, I do want to kind of state it says reevaluated in 2 weeks. That does not mean Cade Cunningham will be back in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, what'll happen is he'll get checked out by the Detroit Pistons medical team and their team doctors to see how he's progressing with his collapsed lung, which is a good sign. 2 weeks is kind of like a ballpark area with the type of injury he's had. The reason why I know a lot about collapsed lungs is because my mom has actually had two of them, but hers were way more severe. She actually had to have chest tubes inserted into her twice when she was in the hospital when I was a lot younger, when I was like around 9 or 10. She was so sick, but Kate doesn't have to have chest tubes. This is very minor. He probably had a small incision in his chest area just to try to get, all of that air or fluid out of his collapsed lung, but he will be okay, you guys. There's something else I do want to kind of get into. Kevin O'Connor broke down every NBA player that has ever had a collapsed lung in the NBA, and he did a really good job outlining kind of time frame with Cade Cunningham. So it says Cade Cunningham's collapsed lung could keep him sidelined for the rest of the regular season, but not the playoffs. If past recovery timelines are any indication, CJ McCollum actually suffered a collapsed lung twice. He had one in 23 where he missed 12 games and he was out for 3.5 weeks. He had one in 21 where he missed 18 games and he missed 6 weeks. Terrence Jones to me is kind of like best case scenario. In 2015, he missed 6 games and he was out 2 weeks. He was almost a Piston, by the way. I remember Terrence Jones when he was with the Houston Rockets, but the trade got like vetoed or I think failed physical or something like that. I don't remember the full details. Gerald Wallace, that is a throwback name. Charlotte Bobcats. If you guys remember Gerald Wallace, just a beast on the boards, but he missed 7 games in 2009 and he was out for 3 weeks. So an average of 10.8 games over 3.6 weeks. Pistons have 14 games remaining with 1 month until the playoffs. Cunningham has played only 61 games. He may lose out on MVP and All NBA eligibility if he does not return sooner. So I want to kind of focus on just the time frame because the Pistons still have 14 games remaining on the schedule. Cade could miss all 14 games and possibly be ready for the playoffs. And I say possibly because I want to kind of just give my opinion on something, and it's my opinion. Everybody heals differently. Okay. I may take 6 weeks with the collapsed lung to heal. Cade may take 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. We all heal differently. Not everybody's the same. That's why when you see these medical diagnoses, they're all over the place. 2 to 6 weeks, 2 to 8 weeks, 6 to 10 weeks, because everybody heals differently. I like to think Cade will probably heal faster for a couple of reasons. One, he's extremely young. Two, the guy's a vegan and he eats extremely healthy. I doubt he eats garbage. He is a type of player that I think he takes very good care of his body. So I would like to think and be under the assumption and the opinion that he could be back for the Pistons in the first round of the playoffs. But if he's not, the Pistons have shown that they can win basketball games without Cade Cunningham. I believe the record is like 6-1 last time I checked. But praying for Cade and his family. Collapsed lung is going to be very, very scary, but it's good news that it's just a minor collapsed lung. It's nothing major. Major would be really bad, like really, really bad. He wouldn't even play for the remainder of the season and he would miss all of the Eastern Conference playoffs with the Detroit Pistons. But I do want to get into the FanDuel lines for tonight's game, you guys, before we do end this video and this podcast. So the Pistons will be facing the Washington Wizards tonight. Second time we play the Wizards in Washington. kind of like a baseball schedule. You don't really see these too often, but I do want to put the live lines on the screen for you guys that are interested in tonight's game. So, with the Detroit Pistons and the Washington Wizards, if we kind of look at it, the Pistons are favored in this one. That is not a surprise by any shape of the imagination. Trae Young is still out. Alex Sarr is questionable. Their two best players, Anthony Davis, is probably not going to play for the majority of this year. But if you look at the spread, the Pistons are a 14-point favorite in this one. They're also the favorite on the money line at minus 1100. And if we look at the totals, it's minus 110 with the over of 231 and a half. So Vegas believes that this is going to be a high scoring game for the Detroit Pistons, and they should handle business. They should. You have to start this game, though, in my personal opinion. You can't screw around like you did in the first quarter. The first quarter, Washington had the lead for a good 6.5 minutes until the Pistons started hitting their 3-point shots and getting to the free throw line. You have to take care of Washington tonight. You can't really play with your food. This is a team that we've seen that can run up and down the court. They can shoot threes. They can move the ball. They can, create dribble penetration and get into the paint. You don't want that. You don't want guys like Will Riley going off for 20 again. You have to address him. You have to address other players like Trey Johnson. As I doubt he's going to have another game like he did last game. Danish Jenkins is probably going to be your starting point guard, or Marcus Sasser. Really depends what JB wants to do. But in most cases, Danish has had that starting point guard nod when Cade has been out. So it'll probably be the same starters. So you're going to be without Cade and Stu. So it'll be like Danish Jenkins, Duncan Robinson, Asar Thompson, Tobias Harris, Jalen Duren. I expect Jalen Duren to take full advantage of Washington being very small in the front court. Had a career high last game of 36. Would not surprise me if Duren went off for 40 tonight. It just wouldn't. I just don't think Washington has any type of game plan or any type of player that can match Duren with his physicality. Just have to keep him out of foul trouble. But this should be a game that the Pistons should take care of. They should get their 50th win in the season against Washington, which is a whole nother milestone that I want to get into before we do wrap up this podcast. Pistons have not won 50 games since 2007-8. Okay. That was a long time ago. They have a chance to do that tonight. Huge. Obviously, we know that this organization has been through a lot of different regimes, you know, passed on draft picks, free agency signings that haven't gone our way. But to get 50 wins tonight would be huge, not only for this organization, but for ownership as well. We all know since Tom Gores has purchased his team before JB Bickerstaff and Trajan Langdon got here, it's been a lot of failure. It's been a lot of trial and error. To get 50 wins tonight would be huge for the Detroit Pistons organization. But I hope they get 50 wins. And then they're going to have a second night of a back-to-back. So they play the Wizards tonight, and then they got to go home and go see the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, Steph Curry is still out, so you still have Draymond Green and Pajensky and all those guys over there. I think they should beat the Warriors too. I think this should be a week where they go 3-0. I think they can take care of Washington. I think Golden State will be a little bit more challenging because I think they're a little bit, more well coached by Steve Kerr. But these next two games, I think, are very important, especially with no Cade Cunningham, because next week you got the Lakers and you play 4 times next week. So let me know how you guys are feeling with this latest news with Cade Cunningham having a collapsed lung, possibly missing the remainder of the regular season, but could maybe be back for the playoffs. I'll talk to you guys down below in the comment section. Like always, I hope you guys are staying safe. Take care, and we will catch you guys later tonight on our post-game show against the Washington Wizards, and it will be live on YouTube. We're back to live streaming for you guys that didn't know. I know some of you guys have reached out, messages, emails. We're back to live streaming, so it should be on our YouTube channel to give you guys a notification that we are going live. I think around 10:30 tonight after the game, but we'll see you guys very soon. Have a good day. Peace.